What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're gonna look at some tips and tricks for the early game of Nioh 2. I'm a huge fan of the original Nioh, played it on PlayStation and played it on PC, so when the second one was announced I ended up skipping it on PlayStation and then finally picking it up when the complete edition was released on Steam last week. Now, the thing with Nioh is, just like the first game, in my opinion, the first couple of acts and the first couple of levels, let's say 1 to 50, or you could even say 1 to about 75, 80, something like that, is the most difficult, because either you're a newcomer to the game, so you have to learn the system and, basically how the game works, and, if there's parries and that sort of thing, and the differences between fighting humans and, some of the yokai, the creatures, the monsters, that sort of thing. So it's really the most difficult part of the game, and people that I know that have played the game that have given up on it, they've given it up on it during this time of level, let's say 1 to 50 or something like that. Now, Nioh 2 is no different. In my opinion, I did play the original, of course, but I got my ass kicked at the beginning, and like I said, it's not so much that it's a game that I didn't know or anything like that. I'm fully aware of how Nioh works, but it's also at the beginning, when you're just starting out, the abilities and everything that you have for each weapon type and all of that, you haven't unlocked that yet, right? So that's really the problem. And so you really have a basic skill set of moves that you can use, and maybe you don't know which weapon to use or anything like that. So that would be the idea of today's video, and so to just basically go through some of that. So let's go right through. I'm going to show you a loadout that you can use from level 1 to 50 that should do you very well, a specific set of weapons, and then we'll just discuss some basic strategy and all of that, and I can even show you some gameplay of me using that, basically. Alrighty, so as you can see here, the game is divided up into acts, and this is basically the end of Act 1. Now, I just finished it, and if you have a look at my level, you'll notice... Ooh, what's the easiest way for me to do that? Fuck. Sorry, I'm having like a brain fart here. Okay, so if we go to my level here, you'll notice that I'm level 40 at the moment right now. Now, what I ended up doing is I ended up speccing most of my points into stamina, second most of my points into heart, and then I put in some dexterity and some magic. And let me explain. The dexterity and the magic are the two ones which are the odd ones out here. You could very much do this by just going 25, 25, 25 in stamina and 25 in heart. The idea here being that what you want to be using is the odachi, which is the big sword, and you want to be using the axe. Now, both of these give you different advantages depending on your playstyle, but those two combine each other very well, because the two stats which stack them, heart and stamina, also coincidentally increase your life and your ki. And of course, your life is obviously important for fucking, obvious reasons, but ki is also the ability to swing more times without running out of energy, and that sort of thing. So it's always good to have that as well. The difference between the two being that the Odachi allows you to keep enemies at a distance. It's got a massive swing, it's got a massive reach, and it's got fairly decent damage for that. And then the axe is really good for in-close combat, and generally specifically there's one move, the whirlwind with the axe, which does very well when you're surrounded by a bunch of creatures, and you can manage to down them quickly without actually getting tagged by them. So in terms of stats, as I said, most of my points went into stamina, and then the second most of my points went into heart, and then I put about 5 points into dexterity, and I put about 3 points into magic. The reason why I did this is eventually after level 50 I want to transition into a ninjutsu build. So if you're not thinking of doing that, then you don't have to do that, and you don't have to put any points into dexterity or magic, and you can just keep them in stamina and heart and make this build even more chunkier, doing even more damage. But like I said, I'm trying to pivot into ninjutsu. I could of course just pay and restat all my stats, but I'm kind of want to try a little hybrid build or something like that. But that's basically it. Now, as I've mentioned, then that allows me to, if I go to my weapons here, just a sec, you'll see, as I've mentioned, I've got the axe and I've got the Odachi. I'm not looking for any level 1 to 50 or even 1 to 75 around there or something like that. You really shouldn't be freaking out about trying to find specific stats on weapons or anything like that. Basically, you just want to be taking the highest level weapon that you get every time and equipping it and leveling it up and basically unlocking skills with it. One more thing, specifically the skill that I'm talking about when it comes to the axe that allows you to do the whirlwind is over here, Mad Spinner. Now what this does is it lets you just hold in the Y button or whatever your heavy attack button is, and as long as you have key, you basically spin around like a fucking blender and just basically kill everything. So that's it, that's the build. That's your level 1 to 50. Level 1 to 50 goes by really quick, and by the end of Act 1, you should at the very least be like 50. I'm 40 and I'm at the end of Act 1 now, but hopefully this can help you to reach that, because as I said, the first act is quite frustrating. It features 2 very challenging bosses, which I'll show the footage for now, that I'm fighting them with this weapons and exactly this character, and I'm able to beat them, and I wouldn't say that I was necessarily, over leveled on them. Alrighty, so here we just have a couple of vids just showing the build in action. So obviously I'm using the fucking blender, but as you can see, as long as you have key, it essentially, fucking will keep hitting until you run out. What is good about it is that when you finish spinning, you don't get the exhausted animation. You can still run away. So as long as you don't take a hit, you are actually able to just run away and just reset and then start over again. But one of the best pieces of advice I can give you as well to learn in this game is just picking off enemies that you can at a distance. I do take, and obviously I'm by no means an expert in this, and I do take a bunch of risks when I play this, but there's also a side of me that I'm trying to just, get some satisfaction out of this fucking, axe, and basically using this blender and seeing if I can take many guys on at once. Now, as you can see there, this is one of the downsides to this, is if you are in a situation where something charges you and hits you from behind, then the blender's not going to hit them and actually going to be able to get away. But as you can see, I'm able to reset, pull out, and then go again. What you can also try and do is stack armor that regens life for you when you kill something. So that's pretty good as well. But as you can see here, those were against humanoid enemies. The axe works just as well against yokai. And at this stage, I was actually far lower. I was between 25 and 30, if I'm not mistaken. So generally speaking, these yokai can be quite a bit of a handful at the beginning when you're starting out. But as you can see here, I'm just basically trying to whittle away at his defenses. I'm poking at him when I can, and then when the time is right, I engage the blender and fucking take him to Funky Town. Now, you can, out of the blender animation, do that move that is like a feral break basically, which allows you to use a little bit of your the purple bar. What am I trying to point at? The purple bar. So as you build that up, you're able to use that in those little chunks there to basically knock down their life. But here you can see these are 3 yokai here. Okay, they get a couple of hits in, but eventually once I start it up, I'm able to take all 3 of them down. So super satisfying. I dig it. But this is the first gear check, this first skill check, if you want, of Act 1, and this is against Inanra. This is, or Inenra, if I pronounce that fucking wrong, please don't hate me, Inenra. But as you can see, a very chaotic fight. I do, however, also advise you to use a Choco Cups to always bring an ally in with you to basically just give the guy another target to him. In this particular case, that person did not last very long in this fight, but as you can see, I'm actually dealing quite a bit of damage with the axe, and I'm holding back my shift so that I can shift into yokai form for the last bit of damage that I'm gonna need. But in any case, with this boss, you can there's a little bit of a help. You can get those pillars that you have in the room. When he knocks them over, they will spill water and debris down on top of him, which will stun him and do a bit of damage. You can see it there. It does a little bit of water damage to him, and he is a fire-based yokai, so it's really quite good. There I even actually backed myself into a corner, which is definitely not good. But a lot of this I do, as you can see, I wouldn't say that I survived by just luck, but it is a combination of luck and just trying to sort of like position myself away from the boss as much as possible. He's still at a half life here, but as you can see, my Amrita gauge is still full, so I'm able to use that and change once the time is right. But as you can see, what I'm doing now is I'm switching. Now I can just pile away at the last bit of HP that he has and do this. This was my third attempt on the boss that I was able to do this, and I didn't change anything in terms of gear or anything like that, just my approach. So hopefully that helps you as well, and definitely the axe worked there. Now this was a different case. This is the second and basically the last boss, Yatsunokami of Act 1, and this was tough. This snake is super difficult to fucking beat, but definitely what helped here is using fire scrolls on my weapon, and then just once again, whenever he was coiled up like that, I would just use the blender, because if you hit the monster enough, you'll notice above their life bar that they get an increase to, or basically like a debuff that burns them over time. So you got to put a couple of hits on them, and then basically that'll start happening. I don't know if it's like super loud, so I'm just going to turn the volume down just a tad here. But in any case, I did include this entire fight, so it's basically like another 2 minutes here. But again, this was super difficult, and I believe this was my 10th or my 11th attempt, so not nearly as easy a time as I had with the first one. As you can see there, again, waiting to use my yokai form at exactly the right time. In this particular case, I was able to drive him down to about a third life, and then, you know, just wail on him and hope for the best. Now, something that is super important to know about this fight is that once you take him into once he goes into the dark realm like that, it really is a good idea to just avoid him until this phase of the fight stops and you go back to the normal realm. If you engage him like this, you're very likely to be hit by those snakes there. So it's basically you're fighting 3 enemies instead of just the normal one. And the other problem as well is that you're really struggling to regenerate ki in this mode, in the dark realm here. And also he's constantly poisoning you whenever you get close to him. So what I'm actually trying to do is I'm just trying to hit some of the snakes because I want them to give me some Amrita. I actually thought that this was going to be a failed attempt, so having been down to 4 health packages, or whatever the fuck they're called, packed lunches or whatever. But yeah, I was just basically trying to avoid him in this mode here and trying to get away from him. He's got very little life, but this game is brutal like that in moments that you think that you can fucking get that last bit off, the guy like one shots you, it does like 1 damage. So as you notice here, I put the fire back on my axe, and now I'm just waiting for the right time. Now when he's got the 2 snake arms, at some point he sticks them in the ground and they come up behind you. That's your chance. Just run up to him, fucking get in there, get the blender started, and fucking churn away. And there you go. So that'll allow you to finish that boss, and that'll be the end of Act 1. I hope that this helps you guys. I hope that the suggestion to use the axe and the Odachi, the axe for the bosses, I would say, and the Odachi for just normal farming guys because of the range that it can. I don't have any footage of the Odachi here, but maybe down the line I'll make that. But this was really about the axe. And I hope that this allows you to get past Act 1 and maybe makes it a little bit easier for you. But in any case, thanks for watching. Thanks for stopping by. Have a great morning. Have a great afternoon. Have a great evening wherever you are. And until next time, fucking cheers.